Hello, dear viewers. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far, wherever you are. It's time for another death battle reaction. This one being Shigaraki versus Mahito, My Hero Academia versus Jujutsu Kaisen. Of course, always check out the original content before you see anything of mine. Go support Death Battle and their hard work before you support anything of mine. But once you do so, please come back and we'll watch this together. Like, share, subscribe, all that great stuff. As for this fight, I know nothing about these characters. But what I can say, I did watch a little bit. I saw the previews for these two characters. And what I've gathered is one of them seems all but has like all these certain powers, and the other has the power of decay, and that's really wild. But if there's one thing I want to say before we even get started on the matchup, the thumbnail for this fight, for this particular matchup, by God, that is a brutal thumbnail. I mean, it looks like Francisco Goya, in terms of just sheer, like, it's just so disturbing almost, just the sight of these two characters. I know, I believe it's Mahito, I believe. One of them has like a bunch of hands all over his body, like the hands of his family. Constantly, like, all over him as a reminder of the things that he's done. And he's the guy who has the power of decay, and the other guy just has the powers of yes. Like, he can do so many stuff, it's just like, yeah, he can do stuff. But I don't know anything about either of these franchises, let alone these characters. But these are the type of matchups I kind of enjoy. I love learning about these characters. I love seeing what comes of them and what we have to learn from them. So, having said all that, we're going to get started. We're going to watch this and see what happens. And let's play. Okay, it looks hand-drawn. Shigaraki, Mahito.
Fear versus the human disaster curse.
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle.
I get the feeling you don't want to meet either of these two.
Was just a sweet, shy boy who loved superheroes.
But sometimes the hand of fate can't abide sweet shy boys.
Ruthlessly beaten and abused by his hero-hating father, Tenko pushed beyond his emotional limits until he activated his inherent superpower, or quirk.
It wasn't something cool like flight or super strength. In his terror,
League of Legends and Smash Bros. Player
family
lives in a society.
That one was intentional.
Tenko wandered the streets alone, silently begging for someone, anyone, to help him. If only a hero was there to save him. But instead, the only open hand he found belonged to the devil.
All for one. The greatest supervillain in history.
He took Tenko under his wing,
I've seen this part.
Everyone and everything, and grooming him to one day lead his league of villains.
Yep.
And destroy
All the hands.
hero society.
With that came a new name, Tomura Shigaraki, and an absolutely nightmarish quirk, Decay. It
Kind of like the
says on
character
tin,
from the
anything
Ghost
Shiggy
Rider
touches
Spirit of
with
Vengeance
all
movie,
five
Decay.
fingers turns to dust. The
All
perfect
5
power
fingers,
for
though.
someone who just wants to destroy. Pretty menacing, if not for that dorky-ass costume. I get it, hands are his thing, but come on, they just look so dumb and fake.
Oh, those aren't prosthetics. Those are real hands from his family that he killed, attached to his face, and explicitly commanded to be left there by his mentor so that he would never forget his rage.
It's like a constant reminder sort of thing, kind of like Vader's suit.
Relatively weak, it rapidly increased in power and range as Shigaraki came into his own.
Decay isn't even limited to whatever he's touching. Anything that touches something he's decaying also decays.
Spreading like an all-consuming miasma that can wipe out anything from an enormous tower to an entire city.
If decay reaches you, your only hope is to isolate the body part that is disintegrating before it gets to something vital.
Kind of like a
For
zombie
years of
virus.
training with the greatest supervillain of all time, Shigaraki was finally
You have
in
to
charge of his
sever the
own team
limb
with
that was
one
bitten.
mission. He must kill his master's rival, the #1 hero, All Might.
Only to fall flat on his face.
Shigaraki was a terrible leader, quick-tempered, short-sighted, and, well...
Cringe! Oh, he's just so cringe. He uses gamer lingo unironically. He whines like a baby when things don't go his way. He's the kind of guy who would say normie in real life, in front of normies.
But they say defeat
I don't think
is
I've
the
ever heard
greatest
someone
teacher
say
of all.
that in
Only
person.
through struggle could Shigaraki manifest his dark conviction.
Right as All Might's new protege, Izuku Midoriya, was coming into his own as well.
These two rivals, the inheritors of their master's blood feud, would push themselves past their own limitations.
Especially when All Might and All For One double KO'd each other, leaving Shigaraki to lead the League of Villains all by himself.
And with the stakes higher than ever before, Shigaraki stepped up. He personally battled the monstrous Gigantomachia for a month and a half straight, and conquered other villain organizations to create the Paranormal Liberation Front. Thousands of new soldiers for his personal army.
All to impress All For One's personal quack, Dr. Ujiko, who spent months upgrading Shigaraki's body to make it more like his sensei's. It might have been constant agony, but Shiggy went from Chud to Chad.
Ujiko's experimentation vastly increased Shigaraki's strength, speed, and durability, enough to match and surpass even All Might's absurd power.
Sharing All Might's power between them, Deku and Bakugo were able to punch an island-sized hole in a cloud that reached 24 miles into the sky. We've calculated that before to be nearly 80 million
I have not
megatons
seen
of
that one.
TNT, almost as much as the meteor that wiped out the dinosaurs.
And Shigaraki can now move fast enough that his body produces hypersonic shockwaves and can even catch laser beams.
And he's tough enough to survive Star and Stripes Intercontinental Ballistic Cruise Punch. Now the new name for my penis. Move over, gigantic Omega Storm. Anyway,
I thought
it
was
so big it showed up against the curvature
Righteous
of the Earth.
Though he
Indignation.
might seem invincible, when Shigaraki's body is pushed hard enough, he will evolve into a state of uncontrollable power.
So
It kind of reminds me of sort of Resident Evil.
More hands.
Shigaraki can
Kind of like how that
spontaneously generate
mutation
flesh into
sort of,
existence, seemingly
if
oceans
left
of it in an
unchecked.
instant, whenever he wants. He can even use it as a type of armor to defend himself in close combat.
But that's nothing compared to Ujiko's greatest gift. Shigaraki wanted to be the new All For One. So what better way than the old man's quirk?
All For One's quirk, All For One, allows its user to steal and store quirks with just a touch.
And All For One has hundreds of them stored up, collected over the years.
Each quirk is connected to a memory of its user's essence in the form of a spirit, a vestige.
And like a piece of their soul. They exist in this kind of psychic world in
Wow.
Shigaraki's body, and can even act as a spiritual defense should it be invaded.
And with those vestiges came quirks like super fast healing, air blasts, radio waves, flight, telekinesis, teleportation of others, and the ability to track foes.
He can even combine multiple quirks together, like in this big-ass electric Kamehameha.
However, any vestige stolen or destroyed will also remove that quirk from Shigaraki's repertoire. They're also sentient, and some can even fight for control.
Which is when the second shoe
that's-
finally dropped. Because Shigaraki also got All For One's vestige, that means All For One was now in possession of a shiny new body that he'd spent the last 15 years molding for him to take over.
Shigaraki's entire existence was planned from the beginning. Why?
Crap.
Because All Might's previous mentor was Nana Shimura, Tenko's grandmother.
Oh, that's a mess with All Might. That is some next-level hating right there.
He manipulated
Petty.
Shigaraki's entire
Could decay
life,
all of Japan in a
all
week,
for one
personally.
purpose. To create a soul so corrupted, it would grind away at All Might's perfect world, allowing All For One to take full control.
But All For One's possession wasn't complete, and Shiggy managed to fight his way back
All
to
For
the
One
top,
versus the one
literally
below all.
decaying his way through vestiges in the process, all to fight his rival Deku one last time.
Despite Izuku's best efforts to save him, Shigaraki was too far gone. His spirit decayed by years of venomous hatred.
And the new symbol of hope defeated the new symbol of fear, burying All for One's grudge for good.
All that Shigaraki asked was to be remembered as the heartless destroyer he was raised to be, and not the broken, angry, crying little boy he really was deep inside.
For just that one moment, though, Shiggy got in Deku the only thing he'd been denied his whole life, the one thing his lifelong nihilistic tantrum was really all about. He got a hero who tried to save him.
That's
This battle is
pretty
sponsored by
sweet.
Robin Hood Gold.
With Robin Hood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP
So,
treatment,
in
receive
terms of
a
power,
10%
we kind of got
honorary match on
something
Patreon contributions.
relative to the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. Again, the matchup that they talked about with Deco, I have not seen, so I don't know any context for that moment. So he has a lot of powers, but I think his power of decay is pretty much the most powerful one, and he basically got possessed by the All for One dude, and that was bad. I don't know how that's going to play a factor, but oh, and he can like take others' powers or whatever. There's a lot to go over for a newcomer like me.
Ever since Cain slew his brother Abel and wetted his fields with his blood, man's greatest fear has been his fellow man.
But what if this fear took on a life of its own?
What if all that negative emotion humans felt for one another
This is
spilled
the
from their
other guy.
bodies and congealed, forming over time a living being fueled by malice, which believes in nothing but the law of the jungle?
Well, then
Survival
you
of
have
the
the
fittest, man.
special grade curse with the patch face, Mahito.
Mahito.
Oh, I've had people tell me I'd become a human disaster curse when I've had too many mojitos.
Mahito is one of the deadliest beings to ever afflict mankind.
Fam
He's no
J.R.R.
mere mortal,
Tolkien
but a cursed spirit.
lives in,
Evil spirits
like
exist
the other one,
weaker or
lives in
stronger depending on the amount of
a few
anxieties,
months old.
jealousies, hatreds, and fears humans feel about them.
Like the fear of
So
brokenness,
right off
kinda weak,
the
or
bat,
the
I can say that
stronger, or
the other dude is probably been around longer, seeing just how they said Mahito is only a few months old.
A being composed of cursed energy.
It's basically like evil key. Cursed energy can be used to make spirits way stronger, faster, and tougher than any normal human. And it's invisible, making curses like Mahito impossible for the untrained eye to see. Only a life or death situation can galvanize a normal person to see a cursed spirit.
That also makes
Kind of
cursed
like in,
spirits virtually immune
it's kind of
to
like how people when they come so close to death,
but can only be harmed by attacks that
or even have technically died but come back, they say they can now kind of see dead people or ghosts.
They call it exorcism, but I like the way I said it better.
Curses and sorcerers have battled each other for millennia, waging an endless war over the fate of humanity. Almost exclusively in Japan, though, for some reason.
But Mahito is special. You see, most curses are basically dumb animals. But Mahito has so much cursed energy that it gave him sentience.
So he was recruited by Kenjaku alongside other special grade disaster curses to wreak havoc upon the world. In fact, they made Mahito their leader.
And even more
So both of them are
frightening than
leaders.
intelligence and bloodlust. Mahito possessed philosophy.
Perhaps informed by the tragic meaninglessness of interhuman conflict, Mahito is an existential nihilist, believing in nothing but his own will to power. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and Mahito is the wolf.
Which also makes him kind of a goofball. If nothing matters, why not have fun with the slaughter? Really get your steps in. He loves to dig around and toy with your emotions like a cartoon character before slitting your throat.
An appropriate analogy, considering his curse technique, idol transfiguration.
Using his cursed energy, Mahito can control anyone's soul with just a touch. including his own. In fact, he's so good at manipulating his own soul that you can't even kill the bastard without directly targeting it.
In Jujutsu Kaisen, the soul and the body share an immutable connection.
So-
whatever happens to the former affects the latter.
So, can the power of decay affect him?
Literally anything he wants, like Play-Doh. He can turn his limbs into blades or clubs, grow wings like a bird or fins like a fish, reform his body around injuries, or even create clones.
Curse users are naturally unharmed by their own ability. Should he touch a human, though, his alterations to their body are instantly fatal.
And since he's attacking your soul, those physical wounds are gonna be impossible to heal.
Even if his alteration isn't directly fatal, the human body won't last more than a few moments in a transfigured state.
All that with one touch! God, I thought herpes was bad.
His powers mean Mahito treats humans as effectively disposable dolls that he can gleefully experiment on. The more casualties, the better, especially if he gets to break your spirit first and watch you suffer.
Even more twisted is when he combines two transfigured humans together for soul multiplicity.
Yeah.
Essentially a giant torrent of body horror flesh that he repels at an opponent.
Ugh.
He's unbelievably creative with his application of idol transfiguration, and despite being a newborn curse, consistently keeps experienced sorcerers on the back foot.
It helps that he's a quick study who's picked up a number of different curse techniques, like the Black Flash.
By applying cursed energy within 1 microsecond of an impact with an enemy, space itself will distort, exponentially amplifying its force by a factor of 2.5.
Not only does this hurt like a mother, it restores your curse technique and gets you fully in the zone.
And would require reflexes moving nearly 1,000 times the speed of sound. It's no surprise then that Mahito also unlocked the pinnacle of sorcerer techniques, the domain expansion.
Oh shit! More hands!
That's like
Domain
Doctor
is like a
Strange
barrier
sort of
of
stuff
curse
right
energy,
there.
But if you're caught inside, Mahito can use idol transfiguration instantly without even needing to touch you.
It's called the self-embodiment of perfection, the ultimate expression of Mahito's absolute control over his victim's body and soul. The only time it ever failed was against the student sorcerer and Mahito's archenemy, Yuji Itadori.
Because not only was Yuji a barf-inducing goody little two-shoes who believed in the inalienable rights of all living thing, blah, 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 he also had a curse inside of him.
The king of curses, Sukuna.
Which meant Mahito's ability affected both souls in Yuji's body. Sukuna didn't like that. No surprise, and kicked Mahito's ass, forcing Patchface to fight with a handicap whenever facing his pink-haired menace.
Yuji's belief in the value of human life flew directly in the face of the world that Mahito knew to be cruel and meaningless. So he made it his mission to crush Yuji's spirit before killing him, murdering his friends, defiling their corpses, and brutally battering him before going in for the kill.
And he's got the strength to do it. Mahito's one of the most powerful curses in the world, and his growth is exponential.
Fellow disaster curse Jogo was able to summon a massive meteor capable of reducing the city of Shibuya to ash.
That'd take an energy of over 800 kilotons of TNT.
And Mahito can take as good as he can give, especially when, in the throes of struggle against Yuji, he evolved, unlocking
Both of them seem to evolve.
powerful form, the instant body of distorted killing.
Complete with armored exoskeleton and arm blades, this was a taste of the almighty curse Mahito was growing into. A true blight on all mankind.
It wouldn't last. In a bitter battle of resolve, Yuji won out. In a dog-eat-dog world, there was now a bigger wolf.
So he tucked tail and ran away like a bitch. What do you know? Life suddenly became a whole lot more meaningful the second it looked like it was about to end.
All that gleeful nihilism, just a bitter hypocrisy in the end.
For him, maybe, but Mahito found a convert in his archenemy. After a battle that wiped out thousands of innocent people, Yuji's youthful spirit was gone. The only thing left that mattered was exorcising this curse.
In a way, that was Mahito's final victory, the destruction of another human being's soul. He may not have been around to see it, but the curse Mahito inflicted on the world would bring it to its knees.
Wow.
Hey, do you see that join button? Yeah,
That was a lot. I feel like that was a lot more than Shigaraki or whatever. It was a lot tougher to follow along with. But I think Shigaraki or Shigaraki might have this because because he's able to actually hit, if he can hit the other Mahito's curse or whatever, his body and curse one and same or whatever. I'm going with Mahito or Shigaraki. Ugh. Ugh.
I'd heard of a powerful villain stalking these parts. My organization is going to tear this putrid world down around us. We could use a freak of your talents.
Little old me. Do I want to be king of the social rejects? How about I bring them your head instead?
Fine by me. Let's call this your audition. Sick'em.
That was pretty awesome. Consider this your audition. The animation for this is, I really do like this animation. It's very gritty, very harsh.
Did you actually just say that?
Ha! Fringe stuff.
Did I get the part?
Now they're mutating. The animation here.
Domain expansion. I can read your soul. You're just a scared little boy whose daddy was mean and wants to make it everyone else's problem. Grow up.
Hands off.
Ha! Oh, I didn't consider the one for all. All for one.
Your soul too. You only hate humanity because you were born that way. Totally random. I hate them for a reason.
Yep.
You grow up.
Yeah. God, that was brutal.
What did I say, Wiz? Like a bitch.
With their
Ah!
complex power sets, this match was a puzzle to figure out, which is why we're breaking it down to 3 categories: physical stats, survivability, and their powers.
But first, let's address one thing. Could Shigaraki even see Mahito? He's
Oh, I
an
forgot
invisible
about that.
curse after all.
Cursed energy and quirks are notably different, and Shigaraki wouldn't be able to see curses normally. However, even regular humans can spontaneously develop the ability to see curses in life and death scenarios. And with the Surge quirk, Shigaraki would have had no problem tracking it.
So seeing Mahito wouldn't have been an issue. With that out of the way, we can jump into their stats.
This was no contest. Despite the disaster curses being able to destroy entire cities with
Right.
their cursed energy, Shigaraki's scaling to Deku and Bakugo meant he was calculably millions of times stronger.
He was faster, too, considering he could react to light beams beams, while Mahito's Black Flash capped out at nearly 1,000 times the speed of sound. Nothing to scoff at, but Shiggy was thousands of times faster. Shigaraki takes stats.
But survivability was a little trickier to figure out.
Yep, in terms of raw durability, Shigaraki was a lot tougher, and his ability to
Yeah.
generate new flesh meant that he could heal any wounds he might receive super easy.
However, Mahito is a curse and is immune to the kind of overwhelming physical damage Shigaraki could dish out. Not only that, Mahito's regenerative ability via idle transfiguration meant that he'd come back from anything short of spiritual damage.
Considering Mahito's unique curse body, he
but-
should actually get the edge in survivability.
Which presents a crucial question. Could Shigaraki even kill a curse like Mahito in the first place?
Or would Mahito's unkillability give him the time he needed to eventually put Shiggy down with idle transfiguration?
It all comes down to their powers.
Shigaraki had a lot more variety with all of the crazy
Yeah.
quirks All For One had collected over all the years, but none that we know of could properly kill a curse. That didn't mean idle transfiguration was a surefire bet either, though.
Of all things, Shigaraki's vestiges served as a spiritual shield from the effects of idle transfiguration. The fact that Mahito could not avoid targeting Sukuna while attacking Yuji meant that he couldn't target specific souls inside a person.
And Shiggy has hundreds of soul-like entities inside of him. Sure, each one down means he loses a quirk, but that's more than enough time to land a single
Yeah.
hit with Decay, especially considering how much faster Shiggy is.
And Mahito has no way to defend against Shigaraki's primary quirk. Decay has affected spiritual beings in the past. Again, vestiges. In fact, he was able to damage Deku's vestige and have that damage transferred to the Deku in the real world.
Mahito may be made of spirit energy, but he still has a physical form. In fact, sorcerers that couldn't naturally target the
Yeah.
soul were able to fight him on even footing. No reason to think Shiggy wouldn't decay him like everyone else.
Giving Shigaraki the third and final edge. It was a unique duel to the death, but
Yeah.
Shigaraki's overwhelming might, unstoppable powers, and deadly decay spelled the end for the disaster curse.
That was
Nothing
funny.
else to say. You really gotta hand it to Shigaraki.
The winner is Tomura Shigaraki.
Okay.
Next time on Death
Next
Battle.
time. Oh, they're finally bringing them back.
Subscribe and join as a member to see more Death Battle. Thanks for watching.
This was a good fight. I didn't really understand much of what was going on, but I believe I got it right. Probably not for the reasons that I thought, but this was a good fight. I wish I knew more about these characters. I might even look them up and look up the shows. If you want, dear viewers, do you think I should check them out? But next time, people have been wanting it, and personally, Halo fan. That's not to say I don't like Doom. I love Doom. But the original matchup was the Doom guy versus Master Chief. In that scenario, Master Chief would win. People were so butthurt and bitter that the Doom Slayer or Doom guy lost because naturally his story went on later and would basically become like an uber all-destroying force of ungodly nature. And now they want a rematch. It's kind of like Goku versus Superman, but this time I would be very surprised if Master Chief could pull off a win against Doomslayer. Not saying that I don't want him to, but I personally enjoy Master Chief as a character and as a person way more than the Doomslayer. But I wouldn't be surprised if Master Chief wasn't returning from the next matchup. But what do you, dear viewers, think? Did you enjoy this matchup? Please let me know. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. It's been a busy one over here. I've been doing all sorts of stuff. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Please take care.